Yo, what is up, YouTube? It's IFM here with the deciding match for Smogon's World Cup of Pokemon. 3 teams have the possibility to secure the last quarterfinal spot. US East, Brazil, and the Afrabs. And this match is going to decide it all. I am joined here by Luke, and he is one of the players in the match. Say what's up, Luke.
Hey everybody, Luke here. I'm Stathakis in this replay, representing US East in this incredibly important match.
Yes, and right now the situation is Brazil is at 15-15. You have the Afrabs at 15-15 as well. Us on East, we're at 15-14. So if we're able to win this, we get a secured spot in the quarterfinals. We take that 8th position and have to play France. But if we are to lose this match, then there's going to be a 3-way tie for that last spot. And as a result, there's going to have to be a 3-way playoff to decide who gets in, because points don't matter for the last spot. They only matter to decide tie breaks within the top 8. They don't matter to decide who gets in the top 8. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're feeling when you're looking at this team preview right here?
All right. So I noticed immediately off the bat, he does not have very many water resists. In fact, he only has 2 in Keldeo and Latias. And I have a Bisharp on the team, which can really help take care of the Latias, and plenty of Keldeo switch-ins as well. So immediately off the bat, I start thinking about a game plan to soften up all of the Keldeo counters. Sweep with that. Use Latios, Bisharp, and Medicham to pressure him in the mid-game. And I'm feeling pretty confident about the matchup. It definitely looks in my favor just from team preview. Volcarona, especially Pasho variants, look quite scary. I probably will have to use some Fake Out and Sucker Punch shenanigans if I don't want to get swept by that. So definitely some threats and counterplay options from his side, but I'm feeling pretty confident starting at turn 1 in my game plan.
Yeah, definitely. Volcarona with something like a Fire Blast, Bug Buzz, and Giga Drain actually hits the entirety of your team for super effective damage. So that is most definitely a threat. But without further ado, let's jump into this battle. And as you can see, Faji is going to lead with the Latias, as Luke decides to go with the Keldeo there, and Keldeo is going to have to be switching out right here. And he's going to be sending in his Jirachi just to tank anything that Latias wants to throw out, and this is a Stealth Rock Jirachi, so it's going to have the opportunity to get up hazards quite early.
Getting up rocks as soon as possible is crucial because he has a Volcarona, so he needs to keep them off, which lets me get damage on the Latias and also keep the Volcarona under pressure. So getting him up ASAP was a necessity.
Yeah.
Which is why I was okay leading with Keldeo, because I knew this would be an opportunity.
Yeah, and definitely it also helps that the Latias is going to be the defogger, and it can't really beat the Jirachi one-on-one. So pretty much every time it switches out, even if it's a defog or something, those rocks are just going to be coming right back up if you're able to keep the Diancie from Mega Evolving and bouncing them back with Magic Bounce. But it's always just, you know, the toughest call ever to switch a Diancie into a Jirachi in the first place.
Anyway, recognizing the opportunity here, I switch in my Bisharp on a potential defog, and he does indeed go for the defog, so now this is incredibly hard for him to switch into. He pretty much has to sack something. And he sacks the Latias early, which I find a little bit bizarre, but I
mean, you'll take it. You'll definitely
no complaints, absolutely. This is making Keldeo's life potentially much easier.
Yeah, so next time rocks come up as well, you're guaranteed to keep them.
Go for the Sucker Punch here, because his Keldeo is his only other water resist, so any damage would be fine. He reveals that he's a sub-variant, which can be taken care of easily by Rotom and Latios. And Rotom isn't really needed for anything else, so I don't mind it taking damage early on.
Yeah, and the other great thing about Rotom is you can switch it in on that Calm Mind and get a slow Volt Switch off, and as a result, you're going to be able to send Latios in on a non-sub Jirachi, because Rotom's going to be tanking anything that Keldeo is going to throw out, minus critical hit, which, thank God, does not happen.
Absolutely right, IFM. And now the Latios is a big threat to him. He has to predict correctly to not take big damage with his Diancie or Jirachi. Everything else takes big damage irrespective of what I choose. Recognizing this, I actually make a double here on his Jirachi, not knowing what set it is, not wanting to fire off a Draco on a potentially Wish Protect set that would not really get me anywhere.
Yeah, and definitely getting Bisharp in as much as possible just puts massive pressure onto Faji, because his only real switch into it is Keldeo, and now it's lost its leftovers. So it's not going to be able to pull many substitute shenanigans, because every time it uses sub, it has no chance of recovering in the future.
That's right. And now it's going to get weakened much more quickly for my own Keldeo. So things are looking pretty decent right about now.
Yeah, and here you just decide to fire off a Draco Meteor because it's going to be doing big damage to everything but Diancie. And as you can see, it does 46% to that Jirachi. So this is most likely going to be a Scarf Jirachi with Healing Wish. And the Latias also had Healing Wish as well, most likely. So it was probably a double Healing Wish team looking to get sweeps in with the Keldeo, the Volcarona, and the Diancie.
Recognizing the U-turn, I go to the most expendable member, Rotom. But it's a bit of a misplay because now there's potentially an opportunity for his Volcarona to set up. It should be fine with my Scarf Keldeo, Fake Out, and Sucker Punch, but there's a risk nonetheless, especially if Hydro Pump misses, which as you see it does.
Yeah, if you've been following any of the East games for the entirety of the World Cup, you have to realize that we've been hitting like 30% of our Hydro Pumps. So basically a Scald Burn chance.
At this point, I realize that my best bet is to get it into Sucker Punch range with Medicham. So, realizing Medicham doesn't help that much against his fast team, I decide to sacrifice it for some damage here.
Yeah, you just go for the first Fake Out there and just let it die because, honestly, Medicham wasn't super useful, and the most important thing was to, keep Jirachi up so you can get rocks up later. Latios is 100% needed to counter the Keldeo. You need the Bisharp for the Sucker Punch, and Keldeo is your win condition. So, out of all those, you have to go and just sacrifice the Medicham.
Anyway, I go for the 50-50, but he decides to switch, potentially trying to Healing Wish his Volcarona later, recognizing that it's his win condition. So I dodge a sweep there for now, but I really need to get those rocks up ASAP.
Yeah, and also, the thing with the Healing Wish is you did not pop the Pasho Berry first time around, so he's going to be able to utilize that again to survive something like a Choice Scarf Hydro Pump or something like that.
Yep, that's right. And recognizing he'll probably Healing Wish here, I go for the rocks. He actually just switches out, which is perfectly fine. Now, if I force this Volcarona out, it's going to take 50 every time it comes back in. And I have Thunder Wave, so the Volcarona is looking a lot less threatening right about now.
Yeah, because either it's going to be a Lumberry set, and you're just going to T-Wave it and be fine, or it's going to be, obviously, the Pasho set, and once it's T-Wave, Volcarona is pretty much dead in the water, because something like the Iron Heads could flinch it to death, you could get a Latios Psyshock off on it, or you could just, hit it in the face with a Choice Scarf Scald.
That's right. Here I actually make a potentially dubious play. Fearing his Jirachi trying to come in and Healing Wish right away, I actually go for a second Thunder Wave. You might call this a misplay. I was just trying to hedge my bets here because I knew this Jirachi wasn't helping that much in the long run anyway. So, small overprediction, but it was an overprediction that I could afford to make, which is why I went for it.
Yeah, and you also didn't want to get something like a Flame Body Burn on to your Jirachi because you want it to be able to check the Diancie later on in the game or the Keldeo, and it's just going to be taking massive damage every turn with the burn. But anyways, you're able to take it down with the Scarf Keldeo, as we saw, and now you make a great play here.
Yes, that's right. Healing Wish, predicting the Healing Wish, I make sure he's forced to either get in his Keldeo and take an attack with something, or not heal his Keldeo. He opts to heal his Keldeo, which is fine. Psyshock here is free. His resistance in Jirachi is dead. So I just go for a Psyshock.
Yep, go for a Psyshock. And as you can see by that damage, does 37%. That's a pretty low roll for a max defense, max HP Impish, if I recall correctly from your calcs earlier on in the game. So you can see this is quite a defensive lander set he's brought on this team.
That's right. And since it's so defensive, it can't really threaten Keldeo. And since every time Keldeo gets in, he threatens something, it seemed like a fairly free switch-in.
Yeah, because...
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's not going to be threatening to one-hit the Keldeo with anything on his team outside of a Moonblast, but obviously you just kill it with Scald instead before it's able to fire that off. So he's forced to just go for the Secret Sword here to get damage, as you also go and get damage on that Keldeo with your own Secret Sword.
And then here I switch my Bisharp into the Keldeo, expecting him to switch out because he needs his own Keldeo to resist water for later, and get in a Bisharp with a Defiant boost on this very defensive Lando T. Since I know it's slow, I'm free to knock off. This was actually not a super great roll for me. I had a good chance to kill, but I don't need Bisharp, so it's just fine. And now his only Secret Sword resist can no longer take a Secret Sword.
Yeah, of
so
course.
The game is looking pretty good at the moment. I have to Scald because I can't afford to let Diancie come in for free. So Scald it is.
Yeah, but that does allow the Keldeo to come in for free. And now you're forced to just kind of go into the Latios. And the other thing about that play a couple turns ago was, I'm going to throw it on pause real quick as he switches to the Diancie, is that you could have also gone for 3 straight Hydro Pump hits, which would have a roll to kill Keldeo, a very high roll. Obviously, it would kill the Diancie and the Landorus T, but the issue with that is you're going to have to go and use Hydro Pump 3 times in a row, which, as we all know, is Hydro Pump.
That's right. So I had to choose between banking on 3 Hydro Pumps hitting, one of which needed a roll, which was in my favor, but a roll nonetheless, to go the way I needed it to, or I could bank on him not having Rock Polish. Either way, I could win, and I just needed to decide which was less risky. So I decided to not bother with the Hydro Pump and bank on him not being Rock Polish. It wouldn't really make that much sense with his team. 2 setup sweepers already, as it was.
Yeah, so as you can see, the Diancie is going to come in on this Latios, and this is pretty much the turn where the game's going to be decided, because if this is Rock Polish, then it's going to sweep. And you see the Psyshock from the Latios, and a Moonblast is responded with by the Diancie, and as you can see, this is not going to be the Rock Polish set, and now Keldeo is going to be able to come in and just sweep with Secret Sword.
That's right, and what a huge sigh of relief it was when we saw that Moonblast get fired out.
Because we were all just praying to God, just please don't be Rock Polish Diancie, please don't, because that would have just won the game right there, and we would have questioned your move to go for not going for the Hydro Pumps. But thank God it ended up that way. And as you can see, East is able to secure the final spot in the World Cup of Pokemon quarterfinals. They are the first team, I believe, to make it 5 years in a row with 3 straight finals the last few years, though obviously this year hasn't been quite so hot.
And with that, we'll see you in playoffs.
Yes, and make sure to check out the channel for more World Cup of Pokemon content, and make sure to check out Smogon's Twitch. I'll link it in the description. Tomorrow we're going to be doing a SmogCast to preview the quarterfinals of the World Cup of Pokemon. It'll be me, Kevin Cronin, Ray Scarface, Case Victory, Alistair Law, and Blarjan, as well as potentially more members representing France, Oceania, and Spain. Actually, no, Alistair Law's from Spain. We need Germany in there. We need the Germans. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Luke, for taking the time out of your day to record this match. And I'll be seeing you guys later. IFM out.
Stathakis out. Bye-bye.